Now, in a couple of days' time, this goes out on Friday. On Sunday, it's Valentine's Day. If I get the dates right, I think it's on Sunday. A very non-romantic subject with a Valentine's tie, and I'm sure as a journalist, Hannah, you're receiving piles and piles of press releases with very tenuous links to Valentine's Day at the moment. I see lots of them, but you no doubt see a lot more. This one caught my eye because it was probably the least romantic press release, Valentine's themed press release I could have seen, and it's 38% of Brits who are in relationships don't know how much is in their partner's pension pot, and clutching at straws, I think, in terms of that press release. But this is Interactive Investor who've carried out this research. Is that significant that couples don't know how much is in their other person's pension pot?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's been loads and loads of research done on just single people, just people in general, that actually people don't know what's in their own pension pot. And yeah. I carried out some research before I came on this podcast, and I said to my boyfriend, how much do you think's in my pension pot? And he went, why, I don't know, why would I know that? And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, that's fair enough, isn't it? I mean, we kind of guessed each other's, and actually we were pretty close, which feeds into what the report, well, this small press release says. And it's that actually younger people, younger couples tend to be better at knowing roughly what's in their partner's pension than actually those that are kind of in their 30s and 40s, which I think makes sense because a pension is a new thing. Hopefully younger people are paying into it, and so you probably do discuss it with your partner, and you know how long you've been working and roughly what you've been paying in, so you can hazard a guess. I think where it becomes important, though, is when you're pre-retirement, which helpfully this research says that is when people do tend to be most aware of it, and they tend to they tend to talk about it, which makes sense because at that point they're planning for their future together in a retired capacity. So I think it makes perfect sense. But I also don't think that we should be particularly aware of what's in our pensions constantly. And I say that because it's a long-term investment, and markets can do quite mental things, as we've seen quite recently. Yes. I think it could really freak people out if they were looking at their pension every day, because you'd be really worried when it went down. It's why the FCA's rule about the 10% drop notification I've always thought is ludicrous, because you actually don't want to worry people if it drops 10% if it's a long-term investment. It doesn't make any sense. So actually, I don't think there's a lot of use really in
this was one of the things that worried me. So Hargreaves Lansdown, when they put their reports out last week, and it talked about this trending down of the age of their new investors on their platform, one of the things they reported in there, which I don't think was covered very widely, but on average these new customers are checking their portfolios 10 times a week, and that terrifies me, because as you say, these should be long-term things. If you have money in a pension pot or in an ISA or any investment portfolio, don't even check it every week or every month, not necessarily every year. I mean, once a year is probably okay, but 10 times a week, that's going to drive some very short-term behavior. It's going to drive knee-jerk reactions when the markets become volatile and move up and down a bit. And I think the other thing to say on this research, which is always interesting, and I love the way they try and make that tenuous link to Valentine's Day, but the other thing to say is everyone has a different approach when it comes to money as couples. People in relationships don't automatically assume it because you're in a relationship, you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband, wife, etc., that you should share your finances, that you need to be working as a team, effectively working on the same page. As long as what you do works for you, that's absolutely fine. So it's almost like we're judging people for not knowing how much is in their partner's pension pot or how much is in their bank account or anything like that. As long as that's the deal you've got with your partner, that you do your own thing and you both work towards the future together, but separately, I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think it's far more important actually to understand the theory, if you like, behind your pension savings. So as in, perhaps if you've been together for a long time and you do think you're in it for the long run, it's, I think, more important that you talk about, it's important that we save enough for retirement. Maybe we should think about contributing a bit more money, or do you know what I mean? It's rather than, I think the idea should be more on, we're going to, your own pension ethos. Maybe you're going to wait for a long time, you're going to pay into it as much as you can. I don't think it should be about the number. I think it should be about agreeing that we're going to put a lot of emphasis on our pension, and you don't need to know exactly what that number is. You need to, it's far more important, I think, to talk about your money saving habits together and kind of agree on your financial philosophy than it is to know to the penny what's in a very long-term saving pot.
Yeah, I'd agree entirely. And the other very tenuous Valentine's Day linked press release I saw the other day, and I can't remember who it was from, which obviously meant it was a really good one. But it suggested that new couples during a pandemic, are rushing key milestones in their relationships. I'm not sure if this one came across your desk as well, but moving in together, getting married, starting a family, buying a dog or a cat, sharing finances, so sharing the food bill, etc. And I suppose that ties into it. People are, because of social distancing regulations, they are having to accelerate that new relationship status in some cases. But it's all about communication. This interactive investor research found that only 11% of people spoke to each other about their pensions once a month, and that's not my idea of a great date night, I have to say.
Can you
Even as a
imagine?
fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, what are you going to say about it? Like, it's not that interesting. It's really
No.
not. No, I think you know, if you are the sort of couple that talks about it, and if you're the sort of age that maybe it's really starting to matter. I mean, pensions always matter, but you know, you're maybe in your 30s rather than your early 20s. I think maybe once a year you can,
Yeah,
it might come up over dinner at some point because there's a news article or something like that and it prompts a conversation. I do not think this is something that people need to be discussing every Sunday.
agreed.